All right, while sweeping up yesterday, I realized I was going to throw that away. Termites. Let's see. Hard to focus in on dead termites. Creepy little bugs. They'll eat your house up. They've gone for this wet cardboard box. So, whilst sweeping this area, I decided that I'm not going to mess with that starter today, because if the bolts aren't there, that's going to be an hour of running around trying to get the bolts again. So I'm just going to move on to the body work, and that'll be another challenge because I'm not prepared for that, to go collect all the stuff together. Hopefully it's in the other room, but if not, I'll take this trash and maybe go find where I think the bolts are for that starter. All right, best way to get a visual on what you need to do is get some chalk. That's why I didn't want to mess with the door right now, because there's a lot going on here. Even this I can see is not little, needs some extra work. So if you don't count that, I'm gonna get the grinder out, try to refix these and this. So basically 1, 2 little spots, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm not worried about the sanding of it. There's a couple pinholes, so chalk those. Probably just stepped on my chalk. So you need to fill these little pinholes, not big old spots, just tiny little fills like that. That's a tiny little fill. Just need to fill that up. This one, tiny little fill. These two, tiny little fill. Other than that, man, this thing looks pretty legit. I did the big ones on this side when I was messing with the back, so I can still see some spots, but maybe I don't want to get too carried away with that. Might be able to correct that with sanding, but if I would put a little bit of filler there and there, that would fix those spots. And on this side, have the door again, a couple spots, and these where I welded this, and to grind those down. See, I don't like that system that welders just puddles it on there and makes so much work. I just don't even want to mess with that. So it's a little darker on the side, but I don't really see anything. Have these few holes on the door, 1, 2, 3, 4. I could fill them. Hopefully I can get to those from the back side, but there's, I believe there's a bar in here, you can't get to those. So I may fill that and do those twice. But you know, when I'm looking at this roof, I'm not really seeing anything on there that I want to fix. Yes, it needs to be resanded and painted. That's just the nature of the business. I was primed that out in the weather. So I like to take this chrome off, do this body work, pull the window out, paint it again after I do all the body work. So I'm just gonna cover this with can paint, do my body work, can paint, paint the primer. Then I'll sand it all, put another coat of this primer sealer, sand it all again, and then paint it. So window will come out and take these fenders off so I can work a few of these holes. That looks pretty good. I think I got one little hole in this whole thing. So I definitely want to fix that though and paint all this when I paint the thingy. All right, I can tell you that I do not have the skill or the patience to do like they do on TV. It's heavy, it's hard work. This one's a little better because it's slower, it's not so high RPMs. But you know, you're trying to level that back out, get the metal off the top. You can see, you know, the weld just not very good. So I think that is good enough for me. I'm not going to try that on this. I did this on these hole because I wanted to get down in that hole. I don't want to go too crazy making this big. I want to get the sandpaper out, fix these, and these on this other side aren't too bad either. Had maybe a little more patience on this side. I don't know. They just, you know, is what it is. Magic metal. That one had the screw in there, so the screws sawed off. So you can see where that grinder gets how thick the paint is. So there's plenty of stuff to sand there. That one has a hole that's got putty in it. I definitely need to putty these couple spots. Fill these holes. That's what I'm going for. Just fill these holes. Do them twice so I get that stuff packed in there real good. And then I'll sand over it and then fill that a second time. That's a nail hole, so I can only have to do that once. Okay, so let me get the sandpaper. I'll go over these again with some 60 grit or something, 80 grit. And then I will Bondo those and let them dry. All right, now that I've sanded these, there's plenty of work to do. You can definitely see that. You can see that. You can see that. Definitely the dent right there. Got these two holes. I'll hold off on that and try to fill these little holes real good. Made extra work over here because I have this. Got bigger, this, both top and bottom. This stretched out. These are those weird pits all through here. I don't like that. Maybe I will sand that a little better, but I'm going to go ahead and fill that hole for sure. Get the party started. Same with this. Cover that little nipple. All right, let me get the putty out. No, I'm not going to show every step of this every time I do this. Short strand fiberglass, gloves, some cardboard, mix. Don't mix your, once you mix it, don't put it back in the can. It'll harden your can. So that's what I got. And I have to put 2 coats on this. Maybe some body filler. It's probably not thick enough because it's coarse. And then once that dries, it may not have enough hardener in there. It's kind of sticky. So it's we'll see. If it doesn't work, we'll have to sand it off and redo it again. All part of being in the business. And then this side, I put a little more hardener in that, still sticky. And it got dried up on me because I put too much of the hardener. So we'll let this dry, go on and mess around with some other stuff. I need to take a break anyways. And let that dry, 30 minutes or so, hour. I'll come back later and start sanding that, see how good that looks. I may move forward, sand all these holes and cover them with this, just get the party started. That would be most ideal so I can move forward. All right, back over here. It's nice and drier, kind of sticky, but that'll dry as soon as it scratches air. So you can see these are nice and flat. And you get over here and these are all sticking up. So carefully, you can see from tap, 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 all the little tiny taps to push that down. I need to push all of these down. You can feel that they're up in the air. That's up in the air. So they got too aggressive pulling that out. Same with this. I need to tap whatever I think is high. That's high. That's probably why that looks funny to me. because that is so high right there. So I'm gonna work those down, work these down, and then I'll Bondo this, get this going with the fiberglass Bondo. All right, well, I feel like I improved that a lot as compared to it all be sticking out so much. I'm gonna go back, hit those a few more times, sand this. I'm gonna use the old sandpaper first on this, and then I'll get a new piece of sandpaper, sand these spots, then I'll do that door. My goal really isn't to fix these today, but maybe, we'll see. All right, it's not real good, but it's better than a bunch of holes. Let that dry. I kind of feel like I'm getting carried away, too much work, so I'm going to work on sanding these a little bit because they're dry while that's drying. All right, some of it's looking worse. These all need to be redone, second coat. That's the door. Makes it look a lot better than having all those holes in there, but that's gonna be a lot of work. Problem is, trying to sand it with 80 grit, that's a mistake. Just have to knock it down next time. So next time I do it, I'm gonna have to do 220. Got to redo all this section. That one came out pretty good, but I'm still gonna redo it. I'm gonna redo all of them. Took off some of the stuff there. So you just got to redo them. I don't like it's not going to be coarse enough for the next layer to stick. So I need to make sure I 80 grit it real rough, scruff, so it'll stick to it. Seems like a lot of work. Get a second coat on there. I don't know if that's going to come out any better. The problem is that it's so textured. It's really meant to fill holes and not fill stuff, little imperfections. So I'm going to get less aggressive with sanding this. I don't even think I'm going to hit it with 80. I think I'm going to try the 120 or the 220. Try not to get too aggressive once that dries. So I was trying to be proactive and use up a little bit to fill in these divots. I'm going to go ahead and resand this with the 80, get a second coat on there. All right, I way overworked this section, started drying, tried to put it on thick so I could have plenty of sanding room to sand it down smooth, because this gets so candy rock hard, not like regular Bondo. So I'm going to sand a little bit while that's drying, put some primer on it, quit for the day. All right, I want to say that I bit off more than I could chew. It's so much work, and every time I sand it, there's another bad spot, another bad spot. I'm having troubles sanding here because of the wood post. This is looking pretty good, but it has one little dibble right there. So I'm gonna have to get out the regular Bondo. The door looks like caca. It's just too much for me to try to finish tonight. When you're not in the business, you know, you're not a professional, don't have all the stuff in the working room. I want to put another coat of primer on this. From a distance, it's looking pretty good. I did use light gray because I'm just kind of wasting what I got. That's all going to get sanded off. So I don't want to use good stuff, but you can see how rough that is. So that's all got to get sanded better. I'm just too tired. Even with a electric sander, sanding by hand, you get tired, then you go too aggressive, and then you mess up your work you already did, and then you have to put another coat on, try to fix it. So Bondoing is no fun. All right. Well, to tell you the truth, that definitely doesn't look much better than the little things that were there. So got a lot of work to do. The post is in the way. Starting to look a little better. But anyhow, the reason why I'm making this video today, kind of funny, I bought this 2021. I was gonna go buy this last night. Got on Amazon, and Amazon said I'd purchase this in year 21. So I've had this 3 or 4 years. Went and looked where theoretically it would be. So let's see if that works to get this chrome off like it's advertised to do. It's the brand Amazon. I think they sell them for 17 bucks or so. So I'm gonna take this out of the package, see if it works. Well, that worked like magic. I don't know how that's working to get under those clips, but somehow that slides under those clips. All right, I think I got one of these clips. So, I mean, it works so beautiful. I don't know how it's doing it, but somehow it just pops them out of there without ruining them like you used to do in the olden days. Maybe there's one right here. Some sort of neat, huh? Well, all I can say is this tool is doing an amazing job of getting behind here and grabbing that clip and pulling it away from the thing. It's working amazing. Not sure how it works, but it's definitely getting under there. Did those 3 and then sweet. So that's what I needed to get that chrome off. That was my goal for the day, and I'm going to go ahead, remove this and the bumper so I can do the body work back here and finish that, so I can get this finished and painted. I'm going to take these fenders off so I can paint this front valance, paint this back, get a good coat of paint. But my goal is dig all this out of here, buff all this stuff out, clean this up so I can put a new windshield in, take the wipers off. So I got my work cut out for me. Remove the wipers, remove this piece, sand this, clean this up, patch this little hole right there, all the fun stuff. All right, today back on the Camaro, and I want to remove the fenders. So my goal is to paint this body. I'm going to remove the window last, but I want to get the fenders off, and I want to get this so I can paint all of this without having this fin and this bumper in the way. So my goal is to take this off, the 2 fenders off. That's my job for today, and then we'll get back on finishing this body work, pull the window out, and paint the shell, the door and the shells, so we can start putting stuff back together. Because basically, you know, I'm resisting buying the gas tank and all that stuff because it's just going to get paint all over everything. And I did notice that I'm kind of sad about. I guess I had got in here and sanded that. Well, I never painted it, so it's got rust on it. So not today, but I'm definitely going to get that covered up. Trunk looks superb with the fill holes, the fills, these sides. So I can't see any holes shining up through here, but we'll look at that one more time. But today, this, which got to come out through the inside, I don't know, I'll figure that out. And the bumper, looks like there's 2 here, and I think there's 2 underneath. So I'll get my tools out and start loosening some stuff. I've forgotten about all my hard work underneath here. But anyhow, there's 2 bolts under here, 2 bolts there. They're pretty tough to get off. I had to use again, this is not metric, it's standard I don't know if it's 5/8 or 11 something, but all of them take a kind of a cheater pipe. The ones up there did. This one seems to be coming off easier. So I'm gonna take the bottom ones off all the way, and I did have to use this weird loosey-goosey swivel up on top because there wasn't much clearance. Look, it's been so long, the mud daubers have come back, made their nest, turkeys. All right, all these are going marvelously well, but these aren't really attached. They have some sort of spring clamp holding it from this side. It's like a bumper bolt from the old chrome bumpers. So I got this one right here. Oh, actually it's this one. Is not locked into the square or stripped out the square and not coming out. So mostly successful. I don't know how I'm going to get that one off, and that's the joys of doing this. It just becomes a nightmare sometimes. So basically I was able to put pressure on the back of that and keep the square head into the thing. I got some grease in here. Let me take this out so you can see what I'm talking about. So I'm having to put pressure. So basically all that's holding that in is like some weird brake tongue, and so it's that's what's holding that into the square. So it's two squares together, and that little thing is holding it in position while they screw those in. And while they're new and fresh, it's not a problem. But as soon as it gets rusty and moves and loosens, then that wants to push out of the square and not hold. So I got 3 more to go. These were my hard ones over here. Crazy. The thing I'm noticing now is a big dent right there. It needs to come out. So this side is perfectly round and smooth, while that's got a dent in it. And I've taken this lower screw out. I'm not sure how to get this upper piece off. It's got to be a secret to it. Alright, the next secret bolt. Secret. I got a secret that I need to get out. Work on these fins. There's 2 right there. One for the fin, another one for the fin. So let me work on getting the sides and the fin loose. I took out the 2 screws on both sides, and I think I'm going to have to get the welder and weld that bolt to the frame so I can get it loose. I think that's the only way that's coming out now. Alright, so the next thing I did was when I loosened that, the screw fell down in between the drop down and the fender. So I'm going to have to try to get a small magnet to fish down in there, or maybe it has a way to get out. No, I don't think it has a way to get out. It's going to be forever lasted trapped in there unless if I can get a magnet. Alright, that's the damage on the passenger side. Missing one of the screws. Got the 2 side screws out. That one came out of the fin, so I'm going to work on the 2 fins next. Well, I used a 7/16. Got in here and ratcheted those loose. There's 2 of them. That'll be a secret to getting that off. So there you go. There's one of those. Now, if those were all rusted, I don't see how you'd get them off. You'd just give up. You'd be stripping every one of those out. But luckily for me, this car was surface rust and no real super duper rust holes besides the floors. So I'm going to keep all these bolts together and put them back on there. Go to the other side. And when you know it, just like I was talking about, that one there came out. That one's stripped out. It's just spinning in circles. So I don't know if it's unscrewing from the bottom, which I hope it is. I hope it's just screwing out of the casing, but it feels like it's slipping. That's why that screw was put in there. So you know how I feel about that. 2 stuck screws. It's the way this goes. It's the joys of this business. So got to get them out. Okay, so it looks like it unscrewed out of there or twisted and broke out, one of the two. So now I can grab that with a pair of vice grips and unscrew it. All right, got that loose. Next thing I worked on is this license plate light. So looks like it's broke anyways, but got the screw out. So I got that one screw to do, and not sure how this bumper cover comes off, but that's the problem, is this bumper cover. So gonna keep going. So basically this piece untwists off of there, then you could pull it up through the hole, put it back on. But what I've seen here, which would have given me problems, is the ground or the hot on there is chafed or cut. So that would have been nothing but problems. It looks like it unhooks there. So we will be able to put a whole new light and everything. Can order that part right there, hopefully. So I'm sure that'll be a specialty $50 part light, but kind of things that need to be replaced. Otherwise, you're not going to have a working car, and you're going to have a license plate light out, and every cop in town going to be trying to pull you over in your cool car. Okay, so I got everything but the one bolt, but what I noticed is that is not coming loose. It's like stuck, or I've missed a bolt. So I'm not sure how that comes off still. This is attached on both sides. So one bolt, got to figure out how to get it out. All right, one last bolt. It's that one, and you're gonna have to weld that together to hold it, to unscrew that, because it's just got tight on there, and now it's stripped on the back side. So I'm gonna have to bring a jack. I have started working this loose. I guess it's just stuck with glue or something, I don't know, rust. So I'm gonna go ahead and work on the front fenders, because I don't want to run and go get the welding machine right now. So I'm going to remove the front fenders and come back and weld this. Lucky for me, these are the fenders that I owned from a different car, so they weren't attached. You do have to open the door, get it off. There's all kinds of mounting points. It mounts to this inner fender, it mounts to this piece here, it mounts up here. Just crazy amount of spots that it mounts to. So basically I'm going to change these out because I have them new. So they're both going to come off, get painted, put on there. So those will come off, be all painted and pretty. Now, the reason why is because that one is damaged, and that's why they took these fenders off, because it had a wreck and damaged this inner fender. So I got two new ones, so I'm going to paint them, put them on, because that's what they got them for. So I have to disassemble all this stuff, but I'll do it while the fenders are off and then work in reverse. Should be fine. So I'm going to pull the other one off real quick. That's what I'm talking about on this side. I should bend this over so somebody don't get shanked on that. That's definitely a shank spot. So let me go get a pair of pliers and I'll bend that over. So got an interesting hole there. So that's why I wanted this off, so I could paint all this stuff, do whatever, fix these spots with some Bondo before they get bad. Anything that needs to be fixed, I'm going to fix real quick, get this painted. Alright, looking good, looking stripped. Always get rid of stuff like that. It'll be your little kid that walks in there and gets shanked on that. So if you ever see something like that, don't ignore it. Get it done right away, because you will regret it. I have. Alright, you don't have to have a good welder, but you got to have a welder. This one doesn't like the cold. It was cheap as I'll get out. It was like 200 bucks. It's the Euro style. It's worked. Got our money's worth out of it. We've done a lot of projects with it. It's already getting old. Doesn't like the cold. Doesn't like adapters. I got 100 feet into the house, 120 volt. It didn't like the outdoor GFI connection, so I plugged it inside. So now I got to weld that little piece. So I'm not going to weld it on camera, it doesn't do any good, but I'm going to weld it and show you what I welded, and then hopefully we'll get that off. Okay, not getting the ground, so I tested on that, it works just fine. So I'm trying to ground where that's all rusty, and really I don't know what's going on. So I've clamped onto the back of the bolt this time, onto that bolt, so I can try to get that started. I've scratched the spot, man, I just got to get it started. And that's the problem with cheap welder. I don't know what's going on, but it doesn't want to melt, but it's holding and it's coming loose. So there we go. See, it's coming loose. That's the business, and it held it, and the bolt's coming loose. So we're gonna get it off. That's funny that came out through the hole with that on there. So put all the washers and everything back. Hopefully I don't have to reuse that bumper. I'm gonna put all the washers. So question would be, that took an hour. How much would you be willing to have paid somebody to weld that, get that bolt off if you had to do it? See, that's the whole problem with these cars. But now I got everything off, so I can paint all of this, and I don't have to worry about trying to spray around that bumper. I can pull this dent out, fix these dents. That's what's gonna happen next. So basically, I'm gonna do all that, pull that front windshield, clean that up. I'm gonna wait. So I'm done for the day, besides clean up. So, good job. That was about 3 hours. Remove the two front fenders, nothing to that, but I knew this was gonna be, I was worried about those bolts, but that one was a problem. All right, what's nice is knowing how these goes. These went in the trunk and they're reversed. These went underneath the car and they were, you know, that way. These convex, concave, I don't know the right word for it. Anyhow, this is gross. This is just about ruined, so I didn't want to use that. So move on. All right, horrible cold day, 40 degrees. Trying to get something done on this car, and that's to pull this dent out. So once I removed that rear bumper, I realized that's not the way that's supposed to be. It's supposed to look like this. Nice, smooth curve. So I'm gonna figure out some way to get some boards in there, right there, or something. So I'm gonna need to cut some boards that will fit down in there to hammer down in there, or pry bar or something. So I'm thinking I'm gonna go get the pry bar next. Now it's impossible to see in the light, but I can't get, I was able to push it out right there, but I need a curved piece of metal, because what I don't want to do is mess this up here like that. I need a curved piece so I can get, this is just not quite right. I mean, it's close. This whole thing needs to be curved, this whole thing. So I need to find a piece of metal that I can heat and bend and curve and get down in there. I've tried the board idea, but again, it's too square. It needs to be round, and if I hammer on it, then it's going to push it out there. Now I could do it here. Maybe I could just try to go a little shorter. Oh, that's funny. That's no good. It was the perfect fit, and all it did was disappear down in there. You know how I feel about that. Now I gotta get that board out. Alright, well, this is what I got down in there. Just took a piece of conduit. Seems like it's reaching down in there pretty good. So I got to work some of these spots. One there, So I'm gonna have to work that out a little bit, try to get on that crease and fix that. Just keep working it. Well, it's way better than it was. I'm trying to work it from the inside and outside, but I can't seem to get right there. And then I'm also seeing that got bent up somehow. Let me look on the other side, but I'm fairly certain that needs to be hammered down. So let's walk over here. Yeah, that's pretty much straight down. So not sure if that got bent too. Fun times. Well, I know I'm scratching the crap out of the inside, so I'm definitely gonna have to spray some stuff down in there. But kind of got a dent there and a dent there. So I need to try to push that out and that out, but man, it's just so hard to see. And I feel like I need a director because I'm trying to lean over and work it. It's hard to see. All right, I think that is as good as I'm gonna get it. The rest of that have to be covered with Bondo. So I think I got that the best I can get it using my super tool. The other thing I need to hammer down is that, so I'll try that next, see if I can get the hammer up in there. Fun times. All right, that was a perfect winter project. No excuse to not have tried that during this bad weather day. Used my super tool. I can go scrap metal now. And I call that a wrap for the day. This is good. All right, quick update. I'm not going to videotape me doing a bunch of body work like I've done in the past. I'll just do some clips, progress, you know, like a few clips of anything major, you know, in between each stage, and that's what I'll post